Let's talk about what's happening right now in Ontario's cottage country, specifically Muskoka, Haliburton, and the Kawarthas. These areas, once the crown jewel of Canadian vacation living, are now turning into cautionary tales. During the pandemic, cottages were hot. People were fleeing the city, desperate for space, nature, and a sense of peace. Some were buying cottages sight unseen, offering $100,000 over asking for a property that didn't even have proper plumbing. But now, many of those buyers are facing a harsh reality. They can't afford to keep them. In fact, 57% of Canadian cottage owners now say that they are struggling to hold on to these properties. This isn't just a slow market shift, it's a full-blown financial wildfire. And no, this isn't just about luxury real estate or weekend getaway. What's happening in cottage country is a red flag for the broader Canadian housing market, because when second homes, often purchased by the upper middle class, start defaulting, it signals something deeper, that even the most comfortable Canadians are stretched beyond their limit. And when that group starts to crack, the ripple effect and will touch everyone. Let's rewind for a second. The dream was clear. Escape from the chaos of the city life, work from the dock, raise your kids in the fresh northern air, and live in that quite essential Canadian fantasy. For some, that dream came true. For a while. But what many people didn't realize is that these properties were rarely paid for in cash. Most buyers leveraged their city homes, maxed out HELOCs, took on second mortgages, or borrowed from family to secure these retreats. Fast forward to 2025. Interest rates have climbed, HELOC payments have tripled in some cases, property taxes in these regions have spiked, insurance premiums are rising, maintenance never stops, roof repairs, septic systems, rodents, and mold. That serene lakeside getaway is now becoming a two-mortgage nightmare. Clients have told me direct, we thought this would be our peaceful escape, and now it's the most stressful thing in our life. Let's look at the number. In Muskoka, some areas have seen prices drop by 12% or more. Listings are sitting on the market for 60 to 90 days, a huge change from bidding wars in 2021. In Haliburton, owners are slashing prices by 5 to 10% just to get interest, and still nothing is moving. The Kawartha Lakes region has seen a surge in listing, but a significant drop in buyer demand. Some municipalities are even introducing short-term rental bans, gutting the Airbnb revenue many homeowners relied on to stay afloat. Take Niagara-on-the-Lake, for example, one of the hardest hit regions in Ontario, where home values have dropped by as much as 20% in last year alone, according to CT. Meanwhile, in Peterborough and surrounding areas, listings are sitting 17% longer than they did in 2023. Now, here's the kicker. Many of these cottages were bought using equity from the city. That means homeowners are now on the hook for their principal residence and the depreciating cottage that they either can't use, can't rent, or even can't sell. So let's get specific. A couple interviewed by CTV bought a 3-season cottage in Bracebridge during COVID, funded entirely by a HELOC. No insulation. They expected to work remotely from May through October. Now, they're spending their weekends fighting black mold and repairing the roof. They've also behind on their primary mortgage payment. A retired teacher in the Kawarthas converted her cottage to a short-term rental in 2021. It worked until 2024, when new bylaws introduced rental caps, expensive registration fees, and strict noise complaint penalties. After one specific rowdy guest, she pulled the plug on Airbnb. She's now paying $1,300 a month in carrying costs on a property that just sits empty. A family in Haliburton listed their cottage in the fall of 2020. Not a single offer. They dropped the price by $75,000, still nothing. Now their city home is up for renewal and the financial strain is crushing. So what's going on here? Why does this matter, specifically if you don't own a cottage? Because this isn't just about vacation homes, it's about the Canadian sites. For decades, we've been sold the dream that home ownership equals success and that owning more property equals even more success. A cottage wasn't just a retreat, it was a status symbol, a symbol that you've made it. But what happens when the dream turns into a debt sentence? When you're spending 4 hours in traffic to mow a lawn you don't even enjoy anymore. When you're afraid to open your mortgage statement. There's also an emotional toll. The weight of appearance, the pressure to keep up with the Joneses, all of it built on borrowed money and borrowed time. So here's my advice to anyone feeling trapped. Stop waiting for a miracle. This market isn't going to bounce back this year. The sooner you take action, the better chances are you're going to minimize the damage. Consider listing your property, but do it strategically. Work with a professional who understands the rural market. Explore co-ownership with family. If renting short-term is an option, look into it. But know the bylaws in your municipality. Talk to your lender. There may be creative ways to restructure your debt. And if you're thinking, but this doesn't affect me, I don't own a cottage, I still urge you to pay attention. If the upper middle class Canadian can no longer afford a second home, what does that say about the rest of us who are just trying to survive? You think Gen Zs is buying lakeside retreat? They can't even imagine home ownership at all. Many are still living with their parents or paying $2,400 a month to rent a one bedroom in the city. Watching this market collapse doesn't just inspire hope, it kills. This isn't just a housing story, it's a generational shift. Maybe we're just witnessing a collapse in the cottage market. Maybe we're watching the end of a particular version of a Canadian dream. Because let's be honest, it was never really about the cottage. It was about the chase, the symbol, the bragging right. But that extra property, that moment of we made it, came with a price few people calculated until it was too late. And now second homes are sitting empty, first homes feel unstable, and more people than ever are quietly asking themselves, was it worth it? So let's bring it back to you. If you could go back to 2020, would you still buy that second property or would you sit it out? There's no shame in either answer, but there's power in honesty, because the more we admit what's really going on, the better we can prepare ourselves and each other for what's ahead. You don't need another flashy headline. You need clarity. You need a plan, and you need someone who's willing to say the things others won't. Thanks for watching. If this hits home, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, because these are the conversations we need to be having in 2025.